Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, say this is the morning podcast with Jacob and Ethan.
This is hell.
So I am in Madeira right now, like off the coast of Portugal, and I'm spending a week here. And then after that, I'm going to Porto for about a week, and then the plan is to fly back after that.
Nice. Enjoy Porto.
Dude,
Yeah.
Porto, go ahead.
I'm jealous. I love that place. I love that place so much.
I was there the night before I flew to Madeira, because that's where my flight was from. It's gorgeous. Like,
It is.
I think the most interesting towns are the places that used to be centers of wealth and still have like the backbones of wealth there, even if they're not like globally renowned anymore. You know what I mean?
Just like Atchison. Yeah.
But Chesky Krumlov is one of them. Not Chesky Krumlov. Which place has the bone church? Just Kutna Hora.
Oh,
Kutna Hora and Porto, and I'm trying to think of some other ones. But yeah, those tend to be the most interesting places, are the ones that like they're not a tourist attraction, like they're not a center of commerce anymore, so they're not too crowded, but they definitely still have the bones of greatness, and it's nice to be able to appreciate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I haven't been there. Dad said that was a big mistake. Did you like Kutna Hora?
I mean, you can live without it. I'd say it's better to go to Krumlov.
That place is badass. I think it was there for like 4 days.
Dude, Krumlov, I mean, it's a little small, and a little pricey for the Czech Republic.
Yeah, maybe. I don't. You would know that more than me. I don't know. Did you go to like the palace gardens and all that stuff?
Yeah, I went up in the tower. But I mean, compared to, tell you what, dude, being in Brussels, because I talked to you when I was in Germany. So I went from Germany to Brussels to Utrecht in the Netherlands, to Brussels again, to Paris, to London, Scotland, Ireland, and then now down to Portugal. Everything in the northwest of Europe is way too damn expensive. Holy shit. Like, it's literally twice as much. It literally costs twice as much to live in Northwest Europe as it does the rest of the continent. Like, it blew my mind. Like, hostels are 30 euro a night.
Yeah.
In Prague, it's like 10.
Right. Did that start in Germany or did it start in Brussels? For me, it started in Munich.
I've never actually stayed overnight. Well, in Munich, the only time I stayed overnight in Munich, is that where Oktoberfest is, Munich? I think Munich. So I stayed at a campsite pretty much. It was like basically a giant tent with 100 beds. So that was not too expensive during Oktoberfest. But definitely like Western. And I wouldn't say that Cologne was too expensive, really. Yeah, it really started for me like when I got to Brussels. That was when the sticker shock really set it. It's like, what the hell am I paying for over here? It's not even as pretty as the east part of the continent.
Yeah, nowhere close. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean Munich. I meant Berlin. But I think Munich's where Oktoberfest is at.
Yeah, no, Berlin I didn't think is that expensive. I mean, it's more expensive than Prague, maybe.
Yeah.
But
that was the line, though. It was like Spain and Portugal, affordable. Czech Republic, everything south of the Czech Republic, affordable. Germany and Northwest, that's when it got a little pricier.
Yeah, once you start getting north and west of Berlin, like there's a big line, like there's a line that goes north from Berlin and a line that goes west from Berlin, west, and like everything northwest of that is expensive. They call it the blue banana, I guess, is what I've been reading. So there's a fictional blue banana that runs through like Milan, Italy, up through Germany into London. But dude, fuck London. But also,
screw you, dude.
Yeah, you like London?
I love London. I loved it.
It's a city of bakers.
And they must have been a little bit more milder. That's when the freaking when I got there, that's when they had a massacre on the London Bridge. Like there were flowers everywhere.
Oh, dude, no one tells you the London Bridge is a pussy ass bridge.
Well, you know that it's not the real one.
Well, the actual one fell down a few times.
The actual one was demolished and it was resurrected, and they moved it brick by brick into Arizona. I shit you not.
Wait, what?
There's an Arizona city that has the London Bridge.
The original one.
The original London Bridge. I got to look it up. This shit that blew my mind. It's like, are you freaking kidding me?
That's nuts. No, my thing with London is it's kind of like how I imagine being from, like, if someone from the UK went to Washington, D.C., like you would be able to admire how pretty some things are, but it wouldn't have the same kind of resonance for you.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I figured out is like when I was going, like I'd always wanted to go to Spain, always wanted to go to Greece, always wanted to go to Italy. And like, you know, with Italy and Greece, we have our history is tied into their history. So it like you do feel a resonance when you go see like the Acropolis or the Colosseum or the Roman Agora. But like going and seeing the UK Parliament building, it's like, okay, this is really pretty, but I don't have any emotional connection to this building. You know, like it doesn't really.
That's really interesting you say that. Because like we had guys in Parliament form our Constitution, or in British Parliament.
I don't think any of them were in Parliament.
They weren't part of it, but I mean they'd been there. You know, they knew the system. Didn't John Adams spend time talking with Parliament? Like he went to London, did he not?
I mean, James Madison's the guy that really did it all. And I think James Madison read a lot of like Aristotle and shit. So he was really into like the Greek and early Roman forms of government. So I'm not going to give the Brits that much credit for our government.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you felt more kindred to Greece and Italy than you did London.
I mean, culturally, the most similar. It's almost.
Well, I get that.
Yeah, culturally, we have the most in common with the UK, and it's almost. I almost wish I had gone to the UK or Ireland first, because I didn't realize like, oh, being in England feels a lot kind of like being in some parts of the States in some ways, and so like I wouldn't have had near the culture shock I had when I got to Prague. Because like going to Prague it's a different world in Eastern Europe. I mean, they don't eat warm bread. I think
it was almost better you did.
Yeah.
I went to Italy for a couple weeks, but that was mainly tourism. And then I went on a big hike in Italy, but like Chesky Krumlov was my next stop. And that was just talking with people that were like Soviet sympathists. And, you know, they were like, no, we're not big fans of America. I was like, ugh, this place is cold. There's too much concrete. Where's the color? Where's the woodwork in this house?
Dude, I have not.
I like that. But you didn't like that?
Of the Czech Republic?
The shock in the Czech Republic. Like you wish you really would have gone to England first?
It wasn't even the culture shock of, I just think it would have been easier on me. But it wasn't even the architecture in some of the outskirts of the cities of like the Soviet era. It was more like everything is in a language that I have no idea what any of it, I can't even figure out, you know, like at least when you see Spanish or Italian or French, you can kind of figure out some words, but like everything's in a strange language. And it's just a different mindset over there. Like it's really something about it's a different mindset with the way of living.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a big part of that is the lack of consumerism, right? Like when you don't, in America and in the UK, we can buy really nice microwaves. And so when like you can buy really nice microwaves and TVs, your greatest source of happiness becomes your microwave and TV. But like when you're in Eastern Europe and your microwave and TV always kind of sucks, your greatest form of happiness is your garden and your like weekend walks in nature. And so I think that partly leads to a different kind of viewpoint on the world and how you should live. And there's also a lot of received wisdom in the East, like don't eat warm bread. There's just a lot of like people live their lives, not that they're like unscientific, but they are like the way it's been done is the way it continues to be done. It's a very traditionalist society, I think, in the East Europe.
Why? I've never heard the bread thing.
It's bad for your digestion.
Warm bread?
You shouldn't eat bread out of the oven. It's not good for you.
I was like thinking, you know what? That makes sense if you had it like a wood fire oven, like you have wood burning right next to the bread. And then when it cools, a lot of that smoke or whatever leaves it. You're not getting the carcinogens, but
well, and supposedly, according to the checks, and maybe how they cook the bread is different. It's when it's warm, it's still cooking. So if you eat it while it's warm, you're eating unfinished bread. Also, like the Italians think drinking cappuccino is bad for digestion after 11 a.m. Yellow. My connection went shitty.
Like, yeah, I'm going to have my cappuccinos 7 times a day.
Oh, can you back up? After I said that about the cappuccino, I missed that on you.
No, they must understand their own mortality then, because they drink like 7 cappuccinos a day.
In Italy?
In public, if it's bad for the health. Yeah.
Well, no, but you're not supposed to drink cappuccino after 11 a.m. Like after that, you're only supposed to drink, like only children drink milk after 11 a.m. in Italy, is what I was told. But they definitely just go to the bar. I love, dude, Italy. I could go live in Italy, dude. You just go to because the bars are cafes, you know this, and you're like espresso, and you don't sit down, you stand at the bar, you gossip with people, you drink your espresso. If it's breakfast time, you get your cannoli or you get your croissant or whatever. It costs like €1 for all that. Yeah. And it's just heaven. Dude, and the food in Naples, like Naples, did you go to Naples?
No, I didn't.
Naples is a shithole, but oh my God, the food. The food is so there's there's food in like every little shop everywhere. And you just like walk through Naples, just like, yeah, I'll have some fried octopus. Yeah, I'll have this, I'll have this, I'll have this. And it's all good and it's all cheap. And yeah, dude. It's dope shit.
That's how I felt about Prague.
Yeah?
Not Prague. Prague was the exception. That's how I felt about the Czech Republic.
With the food? Or like everything was cheap everywhere?
The food.
Well, dude, I love the food, but most people don't like it.
Really?
Because they're idiots. Dude, I tell you what, I miss the 50 crown beer. 50, that's an expensive beer. And I mean, in Portugal, the beer is cheap and it's €5. Yeah.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, I think Porto's, it's still a little pricey. It's definitely pricey for like Portugal, Spain. Yeah, but dude. I don't know.
So anyway, that's what I've been up to since we last chatted. But so Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. Yeah.
Dude, I don't want to say this. I don't care whose side you're on. You just got to imagine being Chris Rock, and you get like that has got to be the shittiest feeling in the world. He's just like okay, that was the greatest moment in television. Oh man. But
like, what are you supposed to do though if you're Chris Rock? Like, do you hit him back? Like, I literally, I don't think there's like a good option, because if you don't slap back, you look like a bitch.
Well, slapping is a bitch move.
I mean, yeah, but he's made you a bitch if he slaps you. That's the problem. I mean, go ahead.
Well, he made him a bitch because he's freaking 6'6", huge, and like jacked. Like Will Smith's not a small. He's like a LeBron. He's like the LeBron James of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Physically, like I don't know what you do. But like, I don't think it was the slap that made him look like a bitch. Like, I think it's the fact that like there's just a bigger guy came and yelled at him and made him stop. That's the bitch move right there. It's like, he's like, don't say it. It's like, it was the G.I. Jane joke. Keep my wife's name out of your mouth. You know, the second time, and he's like, okay. That's where I was like, oh, that's where you looked like a bitch, is when you said, okay, I'm not going to joke about your wife anymore.
Yeah, I guess
the best thing that could have happened is if he was like, okay. Man, she loves to sleep around though. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude. It's just, I
You
don't
probably
know.
have to edit that part out.
Are you worried about your hot take on Chris Rock getting out? I don't know.
Well,
It just, it definitely just didn't, like, what the first time I watched it, I thought, ooh, that's not a good look. Like my gut reaction was like, ooh, that's not a good look for Chris Rock. Like, after I thought about it more, I thought, man, that's a really fucked up thing for Will Smith to do. But like my initial reaction was like, man, like Chris just looked like a bitch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, if that was in a high school, Will Smith would look like a bitch to me, because it's like, oh, you hit a guy, you slapped a guy that's smaller than you. You end up crying like after you hit him. Like that's what a boy does. It's like,
yeah, that's true.
He throws fists and then he goes off and he pouts and he starts crying. Like that's what Will Smith did.
And he picks on people who are smaller than him. And yeah, that's definitely
that's a shitty thing. And the other thing, but like also, if this is in real life, you don't talk about another dude's wife. Like, if you were just making fun of somebody's wife, like expect to get hit, expect to get something, but it's not. I mean, they're not in everyday life, right?
Yeah, it's like, I don't. If you're on stage, are you allowed to make fun of somebody's appearance? You know what I mean? Like, people make fun of people's appearances as stand-ups. Like, I probably, if I thought your wife was wearing a funny hat, I wouldn't start making fun of your wife at a party. But if your wife was like a public figure and I was doing stand-up,
yeah.
Dude, I don't. It's. Yeah, I mean, but I've been in that situation before where somebody's trying to pick a fight, and like the right move is not to escalate. Like the right move, whether or not I could kick this guy's ass or he would definitely kick my ass. Like the correct move, both for my safety and in terms of maturity and in terms of like what we're bitching about, is to just back off. Like let this guy be a dick and let him feel like a man. Like I've never not retaliated for a hit, but like somebody poking you or somebody, jiving with you a little bit, smacking off at the mouth, you just like walk away. But there is always that part of you that's just like, I just ought to hit this motherfucker. I just ought to hit this motherfucker. And the right thing most of the time is not to.
Right.
So it's like, of course, Chris probably shouldn't escalate that decision, but sometimes doing the right thing makes you look weak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not very good at those kind of situations at all.
Why? Do you always kick the shit out of the other person? Or
No.
just walk? Oh, you.
Well, verbally, like, I don't know. I can't talk for one, but I just at Garden City, there was a guy who was just talking shit or something, or he was being annoying, and he like threw a cup at me from like Casey's. He's like, go throw that away. And so I grabbed the cup, like he tossed it, I caught it, and then I just chucked it right back. And ice went like it hit, it exploded, ice went everywhere. He's like, wow, dude. I'm like, I looked like a baby, but I was like, I don't know what else to do. So like somebody told me to throw it away. I mean, I don't know. And
Like,
like,
you're
I think
not
that
his
was
little bitch boy.
no, but like throwing a cup of ice everywhere, just like throwing it at him and making it explode. Was like, I don't know. I'm not very good at being picked on. I don't know if
No.
anybody is.
I mean,
It's I guess your ability to avoid it is better
yeah,
than,
or the de-escalator, right? To crack a joke. Like there are ways to save face without throwing fists. I think that's what I learned with my
Yeah.
brother. Is like if I couldn't beat up my brother, but when I started to learn to make fun of him. That's when I started to get the upper hand in that relationship. It's like I can't beat him in a fight, but I can joke about his intelligence. And so, which
really.
that was 100% when I stopped. My brother stopped picking on me is when I started making fun of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So it's definitely. I mean, I think sometimes you do gotta throw fists. I think sometimes it's better. I can think of an instance or two in my life where I should have maybe it would have been better to escalate to decision just because I would feel better about myself. I don't know what you do, man. I don't know. Some people say violence is never the answer. I don't know. You gotta, I don't know. You gotta be able to respect yourself a little bit.
I think Chris Rock was really classy. I think what he did was great. The only way I think he could have like made himself not look like a bitch is if he just started making fun of him again, just like okay, and then just started just really go after him.
Yeah, I think that's
like if you're gonna get demasculated on stage, like at least make it big, like make him come up there and use all his limbs, not just his slap.
Well, and that's different. That's like, yeah, you're right. The thing about it where he looks bad is not the fact that he got outgunned by the guy who's 6 inches taller and 50 pounds heavier. It's that the big guy was able to intimidate him into shutting up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And comedians overall, I don't know. I'm thinking about my favorite current comedians. I can't see them ever being physically intimidating to other people. Like
I mean, there's a reason they became comedians, right?
Right. So I don't know, man. What? So is Europe getting too expensive? You have to sell your shirt. What's this about?
Oh, I'm just at home. I mean, I have rented out a whole house, so for this week.
And are you done with work right now? Or are you like?
This is my last day today.
What time is it?
1 PM.
Those gosh damn kittens. You could probably hear that, can't you?
A little bit. Could you hear that plane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't. This mic is just pretty good. So I was like, I could hear myself doing everything.
No,
Grabbing
so
coffee, sipping it.
and then also, since the last time we talked, what were you gonna say something about your coffee?
Today's Friday, so this is the only thing I'm drinking all day is this coffee.
Are you fast? Oh, it's still Lent, isn't it? For one more week? Lent's almost done.
Dude, it's been a crazy Lent. You know, my daughter was born Ash Wednesday.
Don't think I picked up on that.
No, I had these grand designs, and then it just was like, oh shit, okay, I guess we're going to the hospital. And then my dad thought we named her Ashley. But yeah.
So what's her name?
Almost done with that. Nancy Jacinta.
Is Nancy short for anything?
No. So it's Maggie's mom's name, and they spelled it with an IE, and that's that.
Okay.
So I like the name. What do you think?
Nancy. That's a very it's a girl's name.
I'm like, yeah. Oh dear. He does have thoughts on this.
I don't have any hot takes on Nancy. You know.
What I was expecting more was that at least maybe people are just being nice and not saying anything, but Jacinta was probably a bold choice for the middle name.
I feel like that's what the middle name is for, though. You know, like you're supposed to go low key on the first name, and then on the middle name, just like throw out your weird Lord of the Rings reference or something. Like it's supposed to be Bob Gandalf Yirok or something. You know?
Not in my family, dude. The middle name's the normal name. Like it's kind of the fallback. Like Leo. Oh, we'll call him Gabriel. Middle name. If he gets made fun of for Leo. Pius, crazy one. Joseph.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I guess we did that. Elias, Seth, Rochelle. We all did middle names after ancestors. I still like Ophelia McKenzie for my first kid's name.
I don't know about Mackenzie.
Ophelia McKenzie Yurok?
I like Ophelia a lot.
And you call her Lily for short.
Is that where that comes from?
Oh, I don't think so. Probably not. But I just don't think I don't want my daughter to have to be called Ophelia.
Ophelia, but you could call me Susan for short.
Call me Diane.
Oh man, oh my gosh, I forgot. I'm sorry. We picked
wanna- Go ahead.
I forgot who we picked up. We picked somebody up on our way back from Texas this last year.
Like a hitchhiker?
Gosh, no. And she. So we came back from Nate Hoffman's wedding in Texas, and we're driving, and then like right after we get into Oklahoma, their car broke down, and gosh damn it, can you hear that kitten?
I can hear the cat.
Gosh damn, that's so annoying.
It don't matter. You don't have to worry. I mean, it's fine. It's just ambient noise. It's not like refrigerator hum or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What? You like kitten noises better than a refrigerator hum? That's like calming.
Yeah, but it's like for recorded audio, refrigerator hum ends up sounding like noise. Like it ends up like some kitten hissing is not the same thing. It won't F up the entire. Sometimes, it's nice to hear a bird song or a kitten squeak or something,
Yeah. No, so just to wrap up we picked them up, and she's a nurse, and she, works with babies and stuff, and she has crazy or interesting baby names, and just one of the funniest one I thought is like some lady named her daughter, her whole first name was Ariana Grande.
Oh, that was just the first name.
Yes, like Ariana Grande Wilson. Like it's crazy. No space, nothing, just Ariana Grande.
Oh man. Dude, so how do you feel about the war? Are you ready for World War III?
No.
I'm excited, baby. Let's go. Let's go fight. I'm ready.
The war was exciting news until like a couple of weeks ago.
Nobody in the States cares anymore. In Europe, it's still a deal, but nobody in the States cares. It's like you all view it like.
No, not true. Every newspaper clipping, every piece of news, and especially this last week. The reason I say the war was interesting until this last week is because they got to the outskirts and they found like mass graves of civilians and that kind of thing. Like, not fun stuff, not fun war stuff.
No, not like, oh man, I'm loving this, but more like, I don't know.
For me, it's like, oh, this is very interesting. And then now it's like, oh, this is a sad kind of interesting now.
I guess I just feel like if the conflict does end up escalating, I won't feel bad about having to go fight because it feels like there's a clear evil and a clear good in this scenario. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And yeah, there's two things I get. There's one thing I've been just wary of here, though, in Kansas is like, dude, I can feel the news turning into propaganda, though. Like, we're having stories of just like news stories about like how one Ukrainian like got in a tractor and like bulldozed the tank over, just like stories that aren't like, they're not interesting. They're like only there because we want to push the narrative that the Ukrainians are really winning, they're really fighting back, that kind of thing. Like they're the good guys here. I want to come to that conclusion for myself, which I do, but I think there's like too much hype about every little tiny thing they're doing right now.
Yeah, probably. I think look, dude, war's never good, and I don't want a war. Like if I joke about it, it's just because like how else do you talk about such a thing, I guess? But like
Right.
it does feel a little bit like, I don't know, maybe it does escalate, you know? And like, you know what? If it escalates, fuck it. Let's go fucking bomb Russia. Like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I did want to ask, because from my from what I'm hearing over here, it sounds like not, I think is it Romania that's just the west of Ukraine, or Bulgaria?
You mean like Belarus, the one that's supporting Russia?
No. The country directly like west of Ukraine. It's like Hungary, maybe, or maybe
Poland?
Slovakia. Actually, no. Let me look. I gotta find a map. But like, it sounds like the Czechs are getting ready, like armed as well. Like,
Well, the thing I
Czechs
think
doing a lot to.
I think there was a lot of nervousness about the Eastern NATO countries, because it's like, okay, what if Russia decides to start invading NATO territory? And so that's I think a lot of the troop movements there was just to reassure those nations. Because I tell you what, dude, talking to like Western Europeans, they're all like, man, why are we paying higher prices because of this US proxy war? But I tell you what, man, the effing Eastern European nations, they're all biting at the bit, man. Like,
yeah,
they're like, fuck Russia with all their heart and soul. They have no love. They're like, yeah, let's get them. Let's go. Let us at them. You know, that sort of thing.
Niet Soviet. I heard that. I really like that. I think it's Latvian.
Dude,
They
don't like Russia.
No, and I was gonna say, like, you're pretty, like, the Czechs are not far off from Ukraine. You're right. Poland and Slovakia and Hungary all have a border with it. Like, that's way closer than I thought Ukraine was to Prague.
Yeah, I mean, there is the difference between NATO and not NATO, which is it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think people underestimate how important like NATO Article 5 is. Like if Putin was stupid enough to attack a NATO country, you know what I mean? I don't think he's that stupid.
I don't know, man. This is where I'm a little wary of the news I'm getting, because I don't know if this is propaganda or news where they're saying, this has been a military failure. Like, they were supposed to take it within a week. Like, I never heard the Russians say they wanted to take.
Oh, they thought they were going to have it within a week. 100%.
Right. That just sounds like propaganda to me, though.
No.
How do we?
And the intelligence coming out of Russia, I mean, if you can believe the CIA, was that they thought they were going to go in and like they thought a lot of Ukrainians would welcome them.
Yeah.
And it just like basically Putin's advisors were telling him what he wanted to hear and not what the truth was.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a big problem in the early days. Now it looks like they're trying to regroup in Eastern Ukraine, or at least appear to do so. It's I mean, look, I don't want to escalate, but also I do feel like the whole genocide thing, like, how do I put this? One company of soldiers losing their minds and executing civilians is not like state-sponsored genocide. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. So I think like the whole genocide thing, if it turns out that like there's some kind of systematic killing of civilians or systematic plan of executing civilians, that's different. That's genocide, right? But if like just some company of soldiers goes nuts, that's like, that's not Putin's fault. I mean,
Well, yeah, but like when we had issues in Vietnam, like
have you seen Apocalypse Now or Platoon, right? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So like what happened to My Lai 4 in Vietnam, like there were ramifications for that. Like the US had trials, they got, they convicted soldiers of doing bad things. I don't know if you'll see that. I don't know if you'll see that in Russia. I don't know if you'll see them go after the guys that did that. So part of it's got to be state sponsored if they're not really going to punish the people that did this.
yeah, that's a fair point.
Right.
Or like maybe they weren't told to do it, but like there's also no repercussions for doing it.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I think I'm a sane person, but under the right pressure where civilians are from Molotov cocktails and that kind of thing, you're kind of always watching your back, like the world is against you. I could see you snapping it. Like, I don't know.
Dude, but they're but for the
crazy
grace
thing.
They're but for the grace of God.
I don't know,
like,
man.
if you gave
Plus,
me
having this kid, I'm just like, I pay attention to the hospital and children's stories too.
Well, when they bombed the maternity hospital this morning, they just bombed the train station. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I think
they did.
Yeah, they just bombed the train station this morning that people were trying to flee on.
Oh my gosh.
They killed 30 and there's more injured. Yeah, dude, like bombing the maternity hospital, bombing the train stations, bombing the fallout shelters for the bombings, like that's pretty awful, right? I mean, I know we killed civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan, but it was never intentional.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't the aim. I mean, we were probably more careless than we should have been, like in where we sent drone strikes, but we never like intentionally were trying to take out civilian targets.
Those are pretty big targets. Like a hospital is a big target.
I mean, it's intentional. If you're hitting a hospital, I mean, it's an intentional, like Russia's trying to push the envelope to see how many civilian targets they can get away with, right?
Seems that way.
It seems that way, which is, I mean, it's worked for them in the past. That's one of the things where it's like, I don't know how it's going to work this time because it's what they did in Syria and it's what they did in Georgia, right? And
yeah,
in the 90s, it's what Russia did. So it's not like a new strategy for them. So that maybe it'll work, or maybe like people. I think it helps that the people are white and that they're European. It's just like when they're Syrians,
there's that aspect too.
When they're Syrians, when the brown people are losing arms and legs and heads, it's bad. But when it's white people.
Well, when you have journalists saying it's the way that it's saying white people is like, this is not a third world country. This is not a third world conflict. It's like, easy, buddy. Are you saying this hits more close to home because they're white and they have electric vehicles? Like, what are you saying?
But I think that's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, look, and we need to reassess what the fuck we're doing in Yemen, because we're aiding Saudi Arabia and doing some pretty awful shit there as well. So yeah. I just don't want to, cast the first stone. Like we definitely, as a country, the United States have done some things that are morally questionable. Certainly, it's just, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to turn out, right? I'm impressed that the Ukrainians have held out this long. I mean, I hear, we work with Ukrainians in my job, and I've heard some terrible stories from them.
Oh my gosh, really?
Oh yeah. Well, just trying to flee a city and bombs are falling around them and the soldiers are screaming at them to go, and they have to leave family members behind because they can't get in contact with them. And, they know people who don't want to leave the cities. Like they feel like it's their duty to stay behind. So they're staying behind in these places. And, we have some meetings where some people are calling from bomb shelters and yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's
I didn't
nuts.
know you were talking to people in the conflict.
Well, and here's the thing is that it's the one part of the Ukrainian economy that still can work, right? Is the IT sector. And so you have all these IT workers from Ukraine who are still like doing work in the middle of all this.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean,
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that.
I mean, it's probably one of the reasons why the Ukrainian economy hasn't completely collapsed is you have all this foreign money from all these IT contracts flowing into the Ukraine IT sector. But they definitely I was far more convinced of an impending war than they were. Like even if they were trying to downplay the likeliness of it because they wanted, us to not get rid of them, they definitely didn't until 2 days before the beginning of the war, they were still saying no, we don't think it's going to be a thing. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Well, because they've been dealing with it since 2014. That's what even though we're just now paying attention to it, they have had Russian aggression and Russian threats for 6-8 years now.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've been taking chunks of Ukraine. That's what I thought was going to happen. It's they've been taking, nabs of it at the east. I forgot the very first thing they took.
Crimea.
There's 2 cities on the eastern side that are Russian sympathist, Crimea, and then I thought it'd be another Crimea thing where they just kind of take a bite.
Donetsk and Lugansk, or however we pronounce it. Well, that's what he should have done. Okay, as much as Trump's comment after Putin moved into Donetsk and Lugansk, I can't pronounce them right, I'm sure, but Trump was right that was a brilliant move, and that's where Putin should have stopped. It's quote unquote a peacekeeping mission. He's quote unquote protecting Russians. He's quote unquote respecting sovereignty. And then he can just over the next 10 years, slowly work his way into Ukraine. And eventually, the country would fold as Russia continues to destabilize it. So and he's also saving face because he does take territory. So why in the hell Putin thought it was a good idea to not just stop at annexing those 2 additional territories? I don't understand it. Because it really was politically a brilliant move. What's that?
I think it's a narcissist thing. I think when people, it's kind of like with Robert Lee, they can make the right decisions, but then they just get too full of themselves and they think they can take it. They bite it off more than they can chew.
Well, it's kind of I think
that's not a military advisor's thing to Putin. I think that's Putin's narcissism.
Yeah. I think too, that's the same problem with Kanye, right? Yeah. When you are succeeding, doing the opposite of what people tell you to do, then eventually you think that everything you think to do is the right thing, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then that just leads you down a path of not doing the things you should. Eventually then you just start getting more and more erratic and not listening to anybody's advice.
Yeah. I don't know.
To switch devices because I was using my computer, but it was just too laggy. So you just went on a whole thing about Ukraine. Can you please repeat it? Because I missed all of it. You went on a thing about Ukraine and COVID, and I was not able to capture it.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I know I've said, so my whole thing is I've said, I don't know, probably 100 times in the last 40 minutes. Because I feel, it's not like I'm not paying attention. I'm reading the news. I'm looking at it. I'm trying to get more into the history of Ukraine and that kind of thing. And it's just a new COVID conversation because everybody I speak with, I just don't agree with the majority of what people are talking about it. I just get skeptical when they're talking about how good they're doing. I get skeptical when they're well, Russia may not be blameless here. Just there's so much crap I'm hearing. It's my new COVID conversation. I just don't want to hear anybody talk about it because nobody knows what's going on. Nobody fully understands it like I do, right? Like that was my whole COVID thing. Drove me crazy.
Nobody really, like COVID. It's like nobody really, there's very few people who have the expertise to really understand it from front to back. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody thinks they're right. But also, like, we're all powerless to do anything. So all we're just doing is, like, talking about it. We're not actually changing anything. And the truth on the ground is that, like, the outcome of it is very uncertain, right? There's not a lot of certainty about it. You know what I mean? Like, we really don't know how it's going to end up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, there is something interesting about the parallels between COVID and this. Yeah, I mean, I've even like the near instantaneous, like, search for conspiracies, right? Like, I've heard people talking about false flag operations by the U.S. and by Ukraine, and I've heard people talking about Ukraine secretly trying to incite, or the U.S. trying to incite this war, and just
that's what the China's pushing.
Yeah, like the near instantaneous, like, conspiratorization of the dialogue around it too is very COVID-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know, like maybe the US, like maybe the internal policy was like, hey, let's better to create conflict now than in 10 years when Russia has a stronger position. I'm not even saying that all of it is necessarily wrong, but more like it's just there's something broken about the way we talk about things now, and something about the way we talk about things that makes us very unhappy. You know what I mean? like something about the way that we discuss issues and like deal with what's happening in the world is making us all very, very miserable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know how to fix it. Cause like, I mean, Twitter's a mess. Facebook's a mess. Freaking
Twitter's not going to be a mess for long, though.
Oh gosh, Musk. Did you watch the new season of It's Always Sunny?
No, I haven't.
Okay, season 15. There's one episode where Dennis decides he's going to try to date millennials and Gen Zers.
Yeah.
And
I think I saw.
Have you already seen the clips of this? Yeah, and he like starts off by not caring. Then he tries to have reasonable discussions, and neither of those two things work. So then he just starts literally repeating exactly what the person says. And it turns out like that's the way how to get them to sleep with them. But it's so right. It's so spot on. It's perfect.
Oh, it's so like, funny.
All we all want to hear is a regurgitation of what we already believe. That's all we want to hear anymore.
It's so funny. No, you bring that up because like I was thinking the same thing. Like the moment where he's like he has this realization he just needs to like he just starts repeating. It's beautiful. They still got it. They've been going a while, but they still got it.
Dude, this is I've been watching it. They kind of started to slip like maybe 8 or 9, but dude, season 13 was good, but season 15 has been a return to form for these guys, in my opinion. Like season 15, what I've watched so far has been quite the return to form. They did an episode where they like went back 20 years and they're all good kids. That one's pretty good. But no, I mean, and I also think like that episode specifically, the little detail too in those scenes is like, so when Dennis like tries to have the conversation or tries to like just like make it sexual off the start, the girls all call him like gross and a creep, but then like after he just starts regurgitating it, then the scene ends with the girl calling him daddy. And I was like,
right. I know. Don't get too.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying like, that's also perfect, right? It's like when somebody disagrees with us, then they're just like, what an awful,
you're a gross pig.
Yeah. What an awful, disgusting human being. And then like when they agree with us, then like we don't even recognize our own grossness sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we resort to language of like intense moral judgment just because we don't like what someone is saying. So I thought that was like an interesting like that was very like subtle, but also still there in the skit.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, they're smart. And I don't think they were so involved with writing a lot of the episodes in later seasons, but I think they've gotten back into writing a lot of them. So that's made a difference.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I was watching it. Man, I forgot the episode. Yeah, I watched an episode recently though, so it hasn't completely left my mind. But for the most part, not a Sunny guy anymore.
Are you too grown up for this shit?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Have you heard of a series called Gilmore Girls?
Yes, I've heard of it.
So Maggie and I had a baby, and so Maggie's just got a lot of downtime nursing. So she decided to watch this show, this Gilmore Girls, again, start to finish. And I gotta say, I don't think the writing is bad, but it's definitely the weirdest tempo out of any show I've watched. Like they know when they're being cheesy and they like it. Like the women I've talked to about it, like they know it's cheesy. They know parts of it are cheesy, but the writing I think is pretty good. It's very witty. Like they make this main character very, very witty. And then when it comes to like romance or anything, they're like, okay, now we're going to change the tempo real quick and things are going to get a little less believable. But also they handle conflict differently. It's not, it's weird. So anyhow, I've been watching this. I've had a lot of mixed feelings lately.
It's after you have your firstborn, there's going to just be there's always a lot of feelings at the end of a pregnancy. It's okay, Ethan.
Well, it's a weird combo because I've been watching that and I've been watching probably the weirdest show I've ever watched, and it's called Attack on Titan. And it's essentially giant people it's people that turn into monsters, which are just giant naked people that just start eating people. Like it's the most bizarre plot I've ever, but it's good and I gotta watch it. I think it's gotta like even out with Gilmore Girls. Like I need if I'm not gonna watch something in the middle, I need two freaking extremely different things.
Oh man, that's prime. That's prime.
Check out Attack on Titan when you have a couple minutes by yourself. Don't let anybody else see it because it's bizarre. It is bizarre. I made fun of people like this in college. It was out when I was in college, and man, not actually make fun of them, but like in my mind, I was like, that is the stupidest shit I've ever seen. Giant naked people eat people. What?
Dude, I was so shy when I was a young kid. Like I would get embarrassed when my parents would try to watch Digimon with me because I just felt so stupid. I was like, like, no, Mom.
We're watching it. This freaking yellow dinosaur is kind of not cool.
Dude, yeah, that was, my mom was always like really worried about like secret satanic messages in like children's cartoons.
Dude, Ashley should have been. Digimon was weird.
But it was awesome.
It is awesome, but it's weird.
It's deep. Digimon is deep.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's all. I think what they did with the digital world, like they had just pieces of the real world stuck in it, or like the gray areas where the two mingled. I think that was brilliant. So yeah, I'll say that part I think was deep. Yeah,
it was premonitory. It saw into the future, our unique hybrid real digital existence.
Where does our world begin and the digital one end?
Yeah.
Are they really so different? Why are they bleeding into one another?
Well, and you had these very melancholic, very like strange character arcs. Like it's not like a Pokemon where it's like, buddy, let's go fight the bad man. Yay. It was like
issues don't
like,
get resolved at the end of every episode.
No, and they're like they have to go back to the real world, and there was like the angel Digimon, and like there were like arcs. There were real character arcs.
Mm-hmm.
For a children's show. It was a strangely sad one. I blame my inherent sadness on that and reading too much series of unfortunate events as a child.
That's one thing I've not read. I got done with Narnia a little bit ago, but that's a weird series, isn't it? A series of unfortunate events.
It is, and
does it get resolved? Like, does it have a happy ending or no?
You have to read it. Honestly, looking back, like I tried to reread it as an adult, and it's not nearly as good as an adult. I would read the first 3, and I would read the last 3.
How many are there?
There's like 13. Let me if I could pull up. Let me see if I can pull up the list, because there's one in the middle you should read too. But like there's the first 3 that really kind of set the characters and their history and like the tensions. And then there's one in the middle where they go to like this burned out carnival. That's just like really actually kind of an interesting book aesthetically. And then starting with the one with the grotto, with like I think the third to last, is when they start to kind of wrap up and really move forward the plot. Mm-hmm. Oh, the Aristote's Elevator is good too. There's a couple of them that it's like it's one of these things where how you remember it is not necessarily how it reads to you now. Like how I remember it and how it hit me as a kid. Like I don't have the same. I don't know how to put it. It's like what I got out of it as a kid was actually quite interesting. And when I think back on it as an adult, it seems really worth reading. But then going back to reading it as an adult, I can't get the same things I got out of it as I did when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Like for me, the 5th Star Wars, no, it was the 6th one, horrified me as a kid because I thought that Jabba the Hutt turned a woman into a fish and then ate her as she screamed. And it's different when I realized that doesn't happen. But yeah, that scared the hell out of me.
But even like the last series of Unfortunate Events book is a retelling of Adam and Eve, pretty much. So it gets to really complicated places. Even like there's a lot of.
So it's deep.
Well, I mean, it's the last book is a retell. It's like a twisted retelling of Adam and Eve. It's really, I don't know, but it's just written in such a stupid way. Like as an adult trying to read it, you're like, I hate this. But dude, I don't know. How do you feel about the old Star Wars? Are they overrated, underrated?
No, I think they're rated perfectly.
I'm just so
the
tired
new
of
ones suck. They got that right. Like the new ones do suck horribly.
Which ones? You mean 1 through 3 or the ones with the girl Jedi?
The one with the girl Jedi. I think they did horrible on it. It's not. It's like you saw all of those.
I saw the middle one. So the one where they go to the island and the one who's the Luke trains the girl.
Well, it's like they have this girl, right? They have this I'm just gonna call him Black Stormtrooper. And it seems like they have something in the beginning. And then the second movie, they change the directors, and then they give the Stormtrooper a new girlfriend pretty much. And then in the third one, they switch back to the original director, and he just puts her with a different, like the evil guy. Like it is so bizarre. You can't just have people fall in love like at the last 10 minutes of a movie just because, when there's no build to that relationship at all.
Well,
and the worst thing they did though is they had Darth Sidious. It wasn't Darth Sidious. the original bad guy from the first movies, the original evil guy, they just brought him back from the dead. Like that to me was the worst. That was the most faux pas thing they did, was they just brought back the original evil guy from the first 6 movies and put him back. It just made him alive.
Okay.
Like it didn't make sense.
Yeah, I have 2 comments. One, I'm so tired of fan bases like hopping on the relationship dick or whatever the corporate scum that are writing movies decide to do. Because okay, the whole thing where Luke is Leia's brother actually is not at all foreshadowed in the earlier 2 movies, and it's super weird. The thing where Hermione and Ron become a thing in Harry Potter makes no absolute fucking sense.
Right.
And that makes no sense. Like it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to be
also,
careful what I say there, because my wife loves Harry Potter.
I
But
know,
yeah,
but
I tend to agree with you. Yeah, like why she should end up with Harry.
Absolutely. Like it's just dude. J.K. Rowling. I think I was reading an article about Hunger Games. Remember those?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
getting hungry.
like, well, someone was bringing up the comment is like, why don't we keep talking about Hunger Games anymore? And they had a good point where it's like, we get mad at these studios for having, the 20th Star Wars movie and like the 10th Harry Potter movie. I mean, 10th, probably 15th Harry Potter movie at this time. And like the 10th Lord of the Rings movie. But no one has been able to create a franchise that has continual cultural impact. Like Hunger Games, like was people went and saw it, but nobody talks about it still. Or Avatar, like nobody still talks about Avatar. Like nobody seems capable of, like the closest thing is maybe the Avengers, I guess. But like, it just seems like all movie studios want to do is make movie, because it's like you can't make a mid-budget movie. Like either you make tiny little art house films that go straight to streaming, or you make like big budget movies that you put in very wide syndication. Those are the 2 ways that people still make movies. And it's just safer to make the 21st Star Wars movie instead of, the second Hunger Games movie that might or might not catch on. And it's, I don't know, like Dune, are we still, nobody's talking about Dune anymore.
Well, that's because they're talking about Ukraine, which is pretty much cold Dune. Dude, I freaking loved Dune. I'm so excited for the second one.
I loved the music.
Yeah, the ambience was freaking great.
Okay, I feel like the Zendaya girl though is a little overrated in terms of her appearance.
I don't know. She was just at the tail end, so I didn't really care.
Yeah.
Movie 2 will really that's when I'll make my decision about her.
Yeah, see, I need my nerdy stars. Like I need my Aubrey Plazas and Amy Adamses of the world.
Give me the sadder but wiser girl for me. Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen any. I saw a really good movie 2 months ago called Network from the 70s. It's worth watching, but I don't know. How soon before you got to start moving for work? I don't want to keep you. I don't want to make you late.
No, that's fine. We should probably think about wrapping up in the next 5 minutes.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Anyway, this film, it's basically about a guy who's going to get fired, and so he goes crazy, and he just starts like telling these really weird prophecies on network television, but they end up drawing great ratings, so they keep him on. So basically, they're just like using this crazy man as like the means to keep this network afloat. It's like this really dark satire, but it's quite good. So I don't know. That one's worth a watch, I thought.
That sounds like VHF.
Oh, I don't know about this one. No.
My dad has a couple core movies that formed who he is. VHS is one of those movies. So this guy buys a rundown. It's Weird Al Yankovic. He buys this rundown TV station, and he's trying as hard as he can to get it up and going. Nothing's taking place. And then one day he just gives up, and he makes the janitor go on this kid's show. and it's Cosmo Kramer. This is the only other thing he's in. And
Dude,
whatever.
talking about somebody whose career never really recovered. I find. Have you
none
ever
of
watched
their
that?
careers recovered?
Oh,
None of
but
their careers.
yeah, they did. Like Jerry's had his comedians in cars getting coffee thing, and the girl was on.
And Julia is yeah. I think
she had like
really,
she had 8 or 10 seasons of Veep, won a fuck ton of awards.
Yeah, so like she's the only one that did anything. I don't think like Jerry, like that was just kind of Jerry was riding on the wave of all these comedians doing specials. I don't really think it was that good. But
he
George
also had a
Kramer
career before.
recovered.
Well, I'm like Cosmo. I finally watched that video of him yelling the N-word at that guy. There was a lot of hate in that yell. There was a lot of that one went out with a lot of prejudice. Like, Have you watched the video?
Yeah, I saw it. It was everywhere. It was on replay across every TV station for probably a month.
I mean, I want you to finish your point, and tell me about this film, but I feel like, we all snap sometimes, right? So like we shouldn't be judged by our worst moment, but most of the time when people talk about stuff, it's like, it's not really that bad. But when you go watch that video, it's like, have
you seen the apology video?
Oh yeah, when he went on Letterman. Oh, and the crowd started laughing.
He says, "I want to apologize to Afro-Americans," and then people start laughing. And who wouldn't think that's a joke? Like he just says Afro-Americans, and people start laughing. And the funniest part, Jerry's like, "It's not funny. It's not funny."
Oh,
yes, it is. The audience knows it's funny.
that is Jerry Seinfeld, and what is his real name? Cosmo's real name?
Richard something.
That is their greatest comedy moment, and it's completely unintentional. Like if they had intentionally tried to do like a comedy apology, that would have been how you would do it. Like. And Cosmo, he's just, it's not funny. Like, it was.
I would apologize. Jerry's like trying to save this man's soul.
And he probably
funny.
He probably didn't want to do it right, but Jerry is like, look, I asked Dave. We got a favor. Come on, tell everyone you're sorry. It'll be fine. Dave will be there. He'll support you. I'm sure like he got talked into it, and then it just starts to unravel. And they're just like, oh, we messed up big.
Oh shit! But gosh, if I had my worst moments on television, it's all so freaking cringeworthy, right?
If my worst moments were recorded, I would have no job.
Yeah, no, I mean, same here. I definitely wouldn't be married with a kid.
Yeah, no,
Maggie would make fun of me too much.
Yeah.
Hey, Mags.
She can. So I have the microphone here. She can hear. You can hear her, but nobody.
Okay.
She can't hear you.
So anyway, finish. You're telling me about this movie.
Gosh damn it! How funny that was. You can't beat that. No, so in real, I mean, it's kind of his same thing as his Cosmo character. The guy gives up on his television, like he's doing a kid show. Like he's the owner of the studio, but he also is trying to do these shows. And so he just gives up and leaves. And then this janitor walks in, and the kids love him. And he has this special mop, and they lose their minds over it. And then essentially the studio becomes successful doing these crazy things with crazy people. So, yeah, so kind of like that. It's probably just a recreation of that movie. Honestly, I think it was made in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So I mean, I gotta watch some more films. Gotta watch them. It's Always Sunny. Any parting words for the listeners or for me?